Today, turns out President Trump didn't clear out the D.C. protesters just for a photo op, and Ilhan Omar gets called out by her own party. We've got a lot coming up today, and it starts right now. Welcome to the news and why it matters. I am Sarah Gonzalez. Today is a very special day, all right, because we have Turning Point's Young Women's Leadership Summit in town today, which means I get to be joined by two women, and might I say, two very strong women today. So today I am joined by Morgan Ziegler. She is the founder and CEO of Young Americans Against Socialism, also a Turning Point contributor, also Erin Elmore, who we met at a Turning Point event.
We did. It's our anniversary. It was 2 years ago here in Dallas.
Happy anniversary.
I'm so happy that happened.
Yes, Turning Point contributor and also Town Hall columnist. I just have to say, I am very excited about all of the estrogen in the room. I think, like, with all of this estrogen that we have in this room, we almost reach the level of estrogen that is within Brian Stelter at any given point in time.
Humpty Dumpty?
Yes. Let's get into the headlines of the day. So the U.S. Department of Interior's Office of the Inspector General has released its findings of a probe into law enforcement actions on June 1st of last year. Now, you guys, I'm sure you remember this, because it was all over the news at that point. Police removed protesters from Lafayette Square in D.C. ahead of President Trump's walk over to St. John's Church, which was damaged after, it's cute because this card right here says, after protesters set it on fire. Oh. But I don't think you can call yourself a protester if you're setting things on fire.
You're an arsonist?
I'm going to go ahead and say criminal, arsonist, rioters. But you recall, you guys, all of the outrage, how this was covered on the mainstream media. We have here how Trump's idea, this is the New York Times, how Trump's idea for a photo op led to havoc in a park. And of course, the picture, we've got NPR tweeting out, police in Washington, D.C. used tear gas and rubber bullets on peaceful protesters to clear them away from St. John's Church, which suffered a small fire Sunday night. President Trump then walked to the church for a photo. Cute. It's just suffered a small fire. That's weird how it just spontaneously combusted. And then Joe Biden's tweet, Joe Biden himself, who of course was then running for president, he's using the American military against the American people. He tear-gassed peaceful protesters and fired rubber bullets for a photo, for our children, for the very soul of our country. We must defeat him, but I mean it when I say this. We can only do it together. Ladies, I want to get your thoughts on this, but let me just for the icing on the cake, may I present to you a conversation that Anderson Cooper had on CNN with, I believe this was a bishop who was there. Yes, Bishop, Episcopal Diocese of Washington. Here is what she had to say. Just listen to the high drama coming from these people of how awful President Trump was. What a monster, shooting tear gas, rubber bullets. Listen to this.
Many Americans crying out in the streets for law and order that is applied equally to all of us, regardless of color, regardless of economic status.
I want to thank you for letting me be on this, be part of this conversation. Let me be clear. The president just used a Bible, the most sacred text of the Judeo-Christian tradition, and one of the churches of my diocese, without permission, as a backdrop for a message antithetical to the teachings of Jesus and everything that our churches stand for. And to do so, as you just said, he sanctioned the use of tear gas by police officers in riot gear to clear the churchyard. I am outraged.
Oh, man, I am outraged. And so now we find out, of course, after the fact, after the election, that the Watchdog's review found that authorities made the decision to clear out the park in order to install fencing amid ongoing rioting and not for the purpose of allowing the president a photo op. And, you know, there's proof of that, all in Secret Service documentation. But, you know, that's after the fact and no apologies. I'm just wondering, Morgan, I'll start with you here to my left. I'm just wondering, when do we get the investigation? When do we get the impeachment proceedings for all of this collusion with, it seems, the Democrat Party and the mainstream media, who it really looks like colluded in all of their reporting in pushing these false narratives just to oust Trump?
I don't think that's going to happen.
You don't,
I'm really sorry.
really?
First of all, I was really surprised to see this headline that the investigation came up with this result, because I just don't trust the bureaucracy. I'm sorry, I just don't trust them at all to have the American people's best interest at heart. And I would say, unless we took back the House, Senate, and presidency and came back with a fire in our hearts, it's not going to happen. I will say, though, this story, I'm happy that this came to this conclusion, because I went to American University in D.C., and I used to go to this church, and I loved the history of D.C. I love the history of the country, and I think so many people on the left don't. But every president since James Madison has gone to service at that church, and it was just such a great example of the disrespect and the ignorance towards American history that the left has, and to see this conclusion is really happy. I love it.
Yeah, Erin.
It's actually a breath of fresh air in a broken system.
Yeah.
We often don't see the truth come out. When people ask, why isn't the mainstream media reporting on this? I said, don't expect to get the truth from the mainstream media. A friend of mine that leans conservative sent me an article from Yahoo News, and I said, unfortunately, you have to wonder what the motivation behind this is. Everything we read these days, you have to ask yourself, why are they writing this?
Right.
What is their end game? What is their goal? There are no facts on the left anymore. There are no statistics. There is no data. It's just them banging their fist for the leftist mob incessantly. And all we hear about is January 6th over and over and over. But what about in my hometown of Philadelphia? The not mostly peaceful protests, a city destroyed, businesses, often African American and minority businesses, destroyed, permanently closed. Minneapolis, Chicago, New York, the list goes on and on and on. And we never hear anything about those lives lost and the destruction to those places. And instead, Republicans are called white supremacists, and that's the biggest threat to America. We really do often feel that we're living in bizarre and crazy times, and I really hope that the narrative is shifting and that crazy pendulum is shifting more our way.
Yeah, I mean, you know, you go back and look at all of the things that, you know, President Trump, and I'm sure all of us here at the table, you look at what we were called when, you know, Trump talked about hydroxychloroquine, and he's a crazy person. He should be, you know, prosecuted for trying to give medical advice because he's not a doctor. And you had states actually going and banning the drug. They are not allowing the doctors to use it to treat COVID-19. I mean, you talk about all these things, and then it's like, oh, wait, there were a couple studies that dropped that showed that hydroxychloroquine actually did help. Whoops. I mean, it's like just a constant barrage of all of these things now that are coming up in the news, sort of as, you know, afterthoughts, like, well, we'll just bury this just a little bit, that show that, you know, I guess President Trump wasn't the crazy person that they portrayed him to be. And it's so frustrating for me because, you know, I mean, we were doing our best to get the truth out here at BlazeTV. And, you know, I know that there are a couple other networks that do that in alternative media. But how many people were listening to Anderson Cooper on CNN talk to this woman about how it was just horrible what he did? And how many people were listening to CNN when they talked about the insurrection and, you know, how, oh, well, President Trump, it's his fault and he told these people to do this and he egged them on? And how many people are listening to this and then going to the ballot box and casting their vote based on this assessment, which then we find out later is literally, there's no fact. There's absolutely no fact to it. Are the people ever going to wake up, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think
because we're in it, right? Like we're in it. We read this every day, but the average American doesn't. So, I mean, are they going to read this and go, oh crap, I guess I should think about it next time the news tells me something like this?
I have a hard time gauging what people that don't live, eat, sleep, and breathe this are thinking, but I do sense a shift. Because if you look at what's going on in most of the major metropolitan cities and what's going on in the suburbs with the parents who thought, wait a minute, the police are going to protect me, and wait a minute, my kid needs to go to school.
Yeah.
And I know Virginia is a big state where the school boards are falling apart and the parents are factioning.
Yeah.
You know, you have the people that are really focused on critical race and the people that think, I want my kid to learn math.
Right.
So I'm starting to sense that people are realizing that they've given the left too much power. They've given the mainstream media too much power. They've given Twitter Facebook, Instagram too much power. I hope and sense that the pendulum is swinging in some places. But to go back to my paradigm of Philadelphia, there's the first George Soros district attorney. His name is Larry Krasner. He destroyed Philly. Criminals are running the streets and all in the name of social justice. I thought his re-election campaign in the Democrat primary would be a referendum on what he had done. He just won the primary, so that in a Democrat city, he's getting reelected. So he won by a huge margin, like 65%. So to me, that city, major cities like that want this. So I've talked to actually Rob Smith, who is also in the turning point world, and he was in New York City for a million years, and I've been in Philadelphia for a million years. We've got to let go of these major cities.
Yeah.
Things changed after 9/11 because everyone came together and became more patriotic. Now, these people are coming together in a unified way of thought, and that's extreme progressivism. That's not our value system, and people that don't want to be treated like that are going to leave. And money goes where it's treated well, and it's not in major cities. People, they're losing seats.
Yeah.
So they are going to reap what they sow.
Yeah. Morgan, I feel like you are also uniquely qualified to answer this question as the founder of Young Americans Against Socialism, which seems to be like where we're heading, and with the Democrat Party and the mainstream media colluding to push us into that. I mean, are Americans, do you find that when you're talking to people, do you find that more people are waking up to all of this garbage that they're pushing us to?
Yeah, I think it's gotten so extreme with the radical left that people are starting to wake up. And there's a million lessons to be learned here, but it all goes back to really identifying what the left is up to. And, we use these funny words like cancel culture. It's not, it's totalitarianism, where you're eliminating people who disagree with you from the public square. It's not, critical race theory where we're teaching anti-racism lessons in school. We're indoctrinating children to hate America. I mean, they're learning that we were founded to keep slavery in this country instead of seeking freedom from a monarch. And then when it comes to what's going on with the mainstream media, it's not fake news, it's literal propaganda, where they are pushing fake messages. And the only thing that will fix this is for people to wake up and have basic values rooted in critical thought. And right now, I try not to get frustrated, but I wish people would be able to look at the facts, see what's coming out from the ground, like, for example, the videos of the footage of the church burning, and then seeing the fake news tell us that President Trump is attacking these poor, peaceful protesters, and then figure out the answer for themselves. But it's going to have to get extreme before any real progress is achieved here.
Yeah. All right, we've got more to come, including Ilhan Omar getting blasted by her own party. You're not going to want to miss that. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Expressvpn. So if you have ever browsed in incognito mode, you don't realize you're not actually incognito. You're not like in Harry Potter where you put on the invisibility cloak. You're not really invisible. That is because incognito mode, like the Chrome browser itself, it's a Google product. And I don't think I have to tell these ladies that anytime Google is involved, you got to know that you are not working with anyone who has your best interest at heart, who is going to keep any of your information private. There's actually a $5 billion class action lawsuit against this company, Google, in California, where it's accused of secretly collecting user data. So incognito does not mean invisible as Google's defense, but I have a way for you to actually make yourself as invisible as possible online. It's Expressvpn. All right, so you've got to go to Expressvpn. It's very, very easy, and they've got an app for all of your browsers. So if it's computer, if it's cell phone, whatever it is, they are going to anonymize you, and they're going to use encryption so that you are assigned a random IP address and you can be protected. You don't want these big tech companies taking your data. And by the way, they're not just going to take them, they're going to profit off of it. Okay? So go to expressvpn.com/y. You will get 3 months for free when you sign up at expressvpn.com/y. That is expressvpn.com/y. The House Democrats are ripping into Representative Ilhan Omar over a tweet that she made earlier this week, which a lot of them privately and not so privately are calling anti-Semitic, which is shocking, I know, because it's not like she has a history of saying anti-Semitic things. Here is the tweet. She said, "We must have the same level of accountability and justice for all victims of crimes against humanity. We have seen unthinkable atrocities committed by the U.S., Hamas, Israel, Afghanistan, and the Taliban. I asked Secretary Blinken where people are supposed to go for justice." By the way, just linking in the U.S., Israel, Hamas, the Taliban, unthinkable atrocities and human rights abuses. It does make one wonder why she decided to come here as a refugee if we are, in fact, so awful. But there was a response on this from Congressman Brad Schneider from Illinois. He said he included a bunch of other representatives and said, "We urge Representative Omar to clarify her words, placing the U.S. and Israel in the same category as Hamas and the Taliban." All right. I mean, I think that that's pretty reasonable. And of course, this kills me, you guys. I read on the internet that this was a clapback, and I was like, if this is a clapback, I hate all of you. It says, "It's shameful for colleagues who call me when they need my support to now put out a statement asking for clarification and not just call. The Islamophobic tropes in this statement are offensive. The constant harassment and silencing from the signers of this letter is unbearable." And then she, went on, citing an open case against Israel, U.S., Hamas, and the Taliban in the ICC isn't comparison or from deeply seated prejudice. You might try to undermine these investigations or deny justice to these victims, but history has taught us that the truth can't be hidden or silenced forever. But could anyone direct me? I know what your answer is going to be, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Could you please direct me to the place where the Islamophobia happened? Because I seem to have missed it.
No, and that's a frequent word that they throw around. And I don't know if you guys can relate, but I'm a Nazi. Apparently, I'm like racist, a bigot. I didn't even know how to pronounce bigot a few years ago. And then I went to a college campus where they gave us the diversity training, and I was like, bigot? What? And I remember when I went to American, I didn't even know why they were asking what my pronoun was on the paper, because I went in 2015 before it was really a thing, and so I literally took my phone out and Googled pronoun, because I was like, they can't be asking me the she, her question. Like, why would they ask that? They were. But they call us these words, and when they do that, it dilutes the meaning of it. And so then when you actually see anti-Semitism and hate coming from someone even on the left, like with Ilhan Omar, people don't really know what to do. And I have an interesting story. At Wichita State University, this girl reached out to me. She was the Turning Point USA chapter president, and she said that she submitted my name to be on this list highlighting women, that all the student senators that she was in student senate, all the people that they look up to. And so she put my name on it, and she got brought up on charges of code of conduct violations for promoting Nazism and white supremacy.
Stop.
Because I'm a capitalist from Turning Point USA. And so she had to go through the 2-hour review. We were there for her. We went through the whole thing with her, and she got out fine, but we still had to go through the whole process. And so it makes me laugh, because the same way that the Democrats are coming out against her, it really shows the difference between a radical leftist and a liberal. And so those classical liberal Dems that are really with us on most of the issues in the country, they finally saw her and said, oh, no, we need to stand up. Same thing with what happened on the campus. The liberal Democrat students that are probably aligned with us at this table more often than not, they were shocked by the leftist behavior of what they did to that poor girl for just putting a conservative on a women's, appreciation post. And so that was really nice for me. And I think that really, when they act like this, it draws a line in the sand between classical liberals, Republicans, and Democrats versus these radical leftists.
Yeah, Aaron.
Wow, that's a really
funny, right?
I mean, it's funny because it's true. The thing about us being called, the normal average Republican is really scared to be called a racist. And people like us, I say, I'm not scared anymore.
No.
We don't care.
Happens every day.
Yeah, they're going to call you that no matter what.
But the problem is we have kids. Remember Chicken Little? He kept saying, the sky is falling, the sky is falling. When you keep saying the sky is falling and nothing happens, when the sky's actually falling, you don't notice it anymore. And that's what I would tell these people that are calling us Nazis and racists. You're diluting the message, like you said, and when you dilute the message so much, when there's a real racial issue, it's not present anymore. And I do feel sorry for the Republicans that have to worry about this because it's fear of losing their job and their financial resources. That's tough. But people like us that get to live this and live without the fear, I think we're really blessed in a way.
Yeah. It is interesting, too, because, when you look at Ilhan Omar, and, I mean, she was very angry that they actually, would call her out. It seems that they're very much eating their own, right? They're kind of eating each other, because you've got the radical wing.
They always have.
Yeah,
all of history.
You've got the radical wing, who has been, they have their people who they have then radicalized, and then you've got, as Morgan, as you said, all of the, the more classical liberal, the people, well, I don't think very many of them exist anymore, but even someone like Nancy Pelosi, who is super progressive, like is not so comfortable with the things that Ilhan Omar and AOC and the squad are doing. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out.
Yeah.
Who is the one who's going to come out on top?
You know what I would love to ask Ilhan Omar? Several things. I'm Jewish. I converted, and I worked really hard to be Jewish, and I understand the history of Israel and Palestine pretty well. And if she, you know, there's allegations that she was cheating on her husband with one of her staffers.
Yeah, that was that the husband that was the brother, or I think that was the other husband, not the brother husband.
Let's just ask her, hypothetically, if you went over to Palestine and cheated on your husband, and it became public, what do you think would happen in Palestine? I'll wait.
Great question.
Oh yeah, you'll be thrown off a building or stoned. And I don't mean stoned, I mean like stoned to death.
Yeah.
So Palestine is no joke. They don't play over there.
No.
You see people of Islamic faith or Muslim saying Muslims for Palestine and gays for Palestine. If you're gay in Palestine, it's lights out for you. As Chrissy Teigen calls it, that's a dirt nap.
Yeah.
Okay? I'm not using that funnily. I'm using it accurately. If you were gay in Palestine, you're dead.
Right. But they don't, but it's like, I mean, she knows that, but the average person who's holding that sign has no clue.
You're cheering for a place and a government that says in their charter, death to Israel. That's the foundation of what Hamas says. And they believe that if you're gay, you should be murdered. You know, if you cheat on your husband, you should be murdered. You can't leave your home, I believe, unmarried without your husband, or a man, rather. So you're going to bat for a culture and a society that would kill you.
Yeah.
Good job.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. Morgan, is it the schools that are to blame? Is that the root problem here of these people who have absolutely no clue what they're advocating?
Well, yes, that's probably the biggest reason. There's a million. I mean, we could blame the participation trophies, the lack of values, the social media that pushes out false information. But at the end of the day, our schools really failed our children. And people will talk to me sometimes if we've got to fix the colleges. It's way too late by that point.
Too far gone.
In middle school, we need to be making sure that our kids understand why our country exists, why it's so exceptional, why it's so fragile. And when you understand the fragility of it and the fact that our founders looked at every instance of a country and a society before and then took the good things and then made note of the bad things and made that into a constitution, it's quite wonderful. And it all goes back to they're burning this massively historic church in Washington, D.C., and they don't care. They probably don't have any idea of the history of it. And when they first started going for those statues, remember, we were like Chicken Little. We were like, this is not good. Next thing you know, I mean, flash forward 3 years, they're changing history curriculum in the schools. So we're very much onto it. And I started Young Americans Against Socialism because at the time, those were the polls that were all coming out, right? Democratic socialism got normalized. And part of the work that we do is really making sure people understand what that means. Socialism is just the economic step. And yes, it's an important step because it gives the government control over you. And once they have economic and financial control over you, they can really dictate any desired behavior or action from you. The problem is, though, there's the totalitarianism aspect, which is coming from cancel culture. There's the infiltration of our military, which is being woke with the 1619 Project teachings and the critical race teachings, our education system, the media. It's happening in every aspect. It's not just socialism on the rise. And so the more we can spread just basic awareness of this stuff, I think will be good. And at the same time, I'm getting a little red-pilled on this. Why did we even trust the government to teach our kids about this in the first place?
That's a great point.
In a perfect world, I know I'm asking for a lot here, but in a perfect world, imagine if every American parent knew the stakes that were in this and were able to teach their little kids how to be strong individuals that were solid with mental fortitude and had a solid understanding of American history and values.
Yeah.
Am I asking for a little too much here?
I trust the United States Postal Service to send a dress to me because my mom just did that and it took 3 weeks.
Yeah. Well, I mean, sometimes I don't know
we got
if you guys,
some work to do.
You guys can agree. Like, people are like, well, we send our kids to school and they learn the Pythagorean theorem, but they don't know how to change a tire. Why would we trust the government to teach our kid how to change a tire? And I know that there's a lot of discussion behind that, but I just wish more people could realize it starts at the home. And I know every family is not going to be able to do that. Some people aren't able to provide that. But if we could all just take a little step in our own lives, I think that would be a big help.
I will just go on record now that I won't be teaching my son how to change a tire.
But there's a cool dad on YouTube. He does that because he didn't have a father figure. He makes how-to videos for everything. So I even watch him sometimes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I learned how to put air in my tires last year.
So you will teach him, it just won't be you.
Right.
But you can still take the credit for it. It's fine.
Great.
Problem
solved. Crisis averted.
Yeah, we've got more to come. First, we want to thank our sponsor, iTarget Pro. So if you have not yet gotten your father something for Father's Day, it is right around the corner. Don't get him another mug or tie. He doesn't need any more of those, okay? Give him the gift that's going to save him thousands in ammunition and take his marksmanship to the next level. That is iTarget Pro. iTarget Pro was invented to give law-abiding citizens a cost-effective way to train in the safety and privacy of their own home. Have you guys seen this? Do you guys know about this?
I think I might buy one for my dad after this.
So freaking cool. So you got a little laser bullet and you put it, they come in like all calibers.
Wow.
Yeah, you put it in the firearm and then you can dry fire. It comes with a target and an app that you can load on your phone so it can track it for you. But you can dry fire. So you can be sitting watching TV and you're just dry firing, learning your weapon, learning the trigger pull. It's super cool. You can have, this was the way that my son first handled a firearm for the first time.
I'm sold.
And he loved it. So it pays for itself for the first time.
You use your own firearm?
Yeah. Yeah, you use your own firearm, so you can learn your own gun because every gun is different.
Yeah.
So it's great, and as an added bonus, you don't blow any holes through your couch or your walls, all right? So Dad will love it. You got to go to itargetpro.com, save 10% and get free shipping with the offer code NEWS. That is the letter itargetpro.com. Get 10% off and free shipping with offer code NEWS.
I guess you don't get that security deposit back.
All right, this is the segment where I have to remind everyone who has not yet taken their blood pressure medication, you got to make sure that you take it before you watch this clip because your head's going to explode if you have not yet taken your blood pressure medication and you do in fact have high blood pressure. Anthony Fauci was on with Meet the Press Daily with Chuck Todd, and he was talking about all of the criticisms that he was receiving. You know, Anthony Fauci, highest paid federal employee, gets paid more than the president of the United States of America, and he is very sad because his little fifis are hurt that people have been attacking him personally. Here is what he had to say about what people are really doing when they're attacking him personally. Watch.
Me, quite frankly, are attacks on science because all of the things that I have spoken about consistently from the very beginning have been fundamentally based on science. Sometimes those things were inconvenient truths for people, and there was pushback against me. So if you are trying to, get at me as a public health official and a scientist, you're really attacking not only Dr. Anthony Fauci, you're attacking science. And anybody that looks at what's going on clearly sees that. You have to be asleep not to see that. That is what's going on. Science and the truth are being attacked.
Wow, who knew that attacking a man is an attack on science? All of the things, he said, all of the things that I have spoken about from the very beginning have been fundamentally based on science. Let me say this one more time for you guys to digest. All of the things I have spoken about from the very beginning have been fundamentally based on science. Survey says. Don't think that that's correct because I'm pretty sure when you're a scientist, you don't get to just give some sort of directive and then when there's no new data, but it turns out that the public doesn't like your directive and then you change your directive, I don't think that you get to say that that's like super science-y. When there's no new data, you just decided that it didn't fly with the American people. How is he still being allowed on television, Morgan?
I don't know, because you were right about the blood pressure thing. I was like, what?
Yeah. And every day it gets crazier. I'm like,
Crazier,
surely he's going to stop saying this sort of crap.
One mask, two mask, goggles. What? Yeah. Stop.
I thought we had jumped the shark at goggles.
Same.
I thought we had.
I remember in the beginning, because people used to love him, right? Like in the beginning, I remember Republicans were like, he's our hero. People were... I remember this, and I'm not going to call him out, but I used to be like, yeah, he's kind of cute. You know, he's a little nerdy doctor. And he was like that common ground for all of us, because it was a scary time in the beginning, right? Nobody knew what was happening. We trusted the doctor versus, seeing the politicians fight it out. And we all liked him. There was underwear. I don't know if you remember this. There was underwear in spring 2020 that came out with his name on it and Cuomo. Look how that turned out. And like 28,000 people signed a petition to have him named Sexiest Man of the Year, Fauci, last year in 2020. And so there was this love for him.
They were blind.
there was a massive love for him, and I think it's because they wanted to feel secure and safe.
Yeah.
And what bothers me about Fauci is he goes and does interviews and talks about his lack of understanding or just neglect for laws, for policy, for freedom, all that stuff. He says, no, I don't keep that into consideration. Then, okay, you shouldn't be the only one getting to dictate what happens. I'm sorry, but if that's your opinion, that's not how it works here. This is not some other country. This is America, where we have to consider other people's freedoms. And he said time and time again, he just doesn't ever think about that in his decision making. But what bothers me the most is that everybody trusted him. Everybody wanted his underwear and wanted him to be named sexiest man of the year.
Hold on, I don't think everybody wanted
not
his
everybody.
underwear.
All these people that are, in the middle and they just wanted the sense of security, they trusted him. And because we all trusted him, look what happened now. Now China's about to get away, probably, with spreading a pandemic level virus around the country, killing how many people now at this point? They lied about it being spread from person to person. They lied about this pandemic that killed millions of people at this point, right? And now we're at this point where we're shocked, as if we didn't trust it. And so I think people at the end of the day are going to start having a drive to think for themselves. This all goes back to what we were just talking about. The idea of critical thought, of thinking for oneself and coming up with your own decision. Fauci, I think, is going to lead the charge on this in terms of getting people who once trusted him absolutely so disappointed in him. It's going to make them start thinking for themselves, I think.
I love Morgan. You're so optimistic. I love this.
I mean, he's really making me mad, and I'm sure people that put their heart and soul into believing him and trusting him versus a politician, they're like, whoa, people can lie on television when they read his emails. He lied to us?
Yeah.
That's a real shock for some people.
Yeah, and if they go back and remember when, he said, well, don't wear masks. And then he came back and said, well, I just said that because, I didn't want all of the healthcare professionals to run out of PPE. It's like, where's the science part of that? That's not science.
Yeah.
Aaron.
Last week I had a breakdown moment. Maybe it was because I left Florida and went back to Philly and it's rough. It's like being in prison, maybe. But I had a moment when I read the emails and he said that the particle size masks don't work.
Yeah. You
put our children, our families through hell, literal, actual hell. And you were lying. And the part of me that shows that it's really malicious and really evil, because he said one mask. Well, no mask, then one mask, then two masks, then goggles. So you did all of this insanity while you knew you were lying. To me, I'm not a psychologist, a psychiatrist to even play one on TV. But what is that called? Is that like extreme narcissism? Is it called liar, liar, pants on fire? How do you get there? How do we get there? How do you get there as a human? And for him to say it's grounded in science as well, he founded gain of function research in the Wuhan lab. Okay, so that's basically fact at this point. So I have a problem with that. Moreover, I have another thought, and this came to me on the airplane today. Was this really a pandemic? So hold on, here's why I say this, and this is a thought I'm developing as we talk and as the day has gone on, so I apologize.
This is an exclusive take from Erin
This is a hot take. So if you look at let's do statistics and facts and math and data.
Yeah.
I'm not going to have them, but we're going to pull them up at some point.
Right.
I believe, from what I've been told and what I understand from reliable sources, more people didn't die in 2020 than they did in 19, 18, 17. So if more people didn't die in that given year, how was this a pandemic? Question. I don't have the answer. I'm just asking the question.
Well, I also would like to know why. I mean, we're still calling it a pandemic.
But I don't know if it is.
Well, but even if it was, how could it still be now? I mean, it's like everything's gone way down. I mean, I know India had a variant spike up, but as far as here,
they don't want to lose that. They need it to keep going.
It's what they're using to drive all of their narrative.
And this isn't a minimization of death.
Right.
By any regard.
Yeah.
It's just saying, statistically speaking, if fewer people died in 2019 and 20 than the 5 previous years, how would it be classified scientifically, medically, statistically, categorically as a pandemic?
Yeah.
I don't have an answer. I don't know if this is an opinion. I'm just asking the question.
I would be very interested to see the data. Because I don't know the data, so
I'm
be
pretty
interested
sure
to see the data.
I saw less people died in 2020 than in earlier years. I don't know. Please don't be anti-science, Aaron.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
So
I'm sorry. I'm pro-fact.
You're a white supremacist. then you're a Nazi, now you're anti-science. I just can't believe I have you
I'm
right
sorry.
here.
I'm the first Jewish Nazi to exist. I think there's a Dave Chappelle skit about that.
All right, we've got more to come. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Built Bar. So if you, again, I'm hyping up all of this stuff for Father's Day. So if you have a dad who, all of our dads are busy, right? Our husbands are busy, our dads are busy. They need something that they can take in the morning with them, with their cup of coffee out the door to get to work, and that is Built Bar. It is a protein bar, but it is covered in 100% chocolate. You guys, it tastes. Are you chocolate lovers?
Yes.
Okay, so I am what's known as the Built Bar dealer in this studio, and I've got a bunch in my dressing room. I have to get you guys. They're so good.
Yeah.
So they're low in calories, they're low in carbs, they're high in protein and fiber, and the flavors are amazing. Like I said, they're 100% chocolate. Some are white chocolate, some are regular chocolate. But if you feel like you're cheating on your diet, but you're not, because it's good for you, okay? So you gotta get this for Dad. He's gonna love it. You can go to BuiltBar.com, use promo code NEWS15. You'll get 15% off of your first order. Keep those pictures coming of your shipments coming in. I am loving them, and also you're making me really hungry.
I know.
So I kind of hate it, but I also love it. So go to BuiltBar.com, that's BUILT bar.com, use promo code NEWS15. All right, I have two ladies at the table, so no better day than for this news to come up. Actress Emilia Clarke created a comic book superhero whose superpowers come from menstruation, and said that the character will swing from her armpit hair like Spider-Man.
Okay, I'm out on that.
Wait, really?
You didn't tell us that one.
So
you cheated.
I know. Well, look, it's TV. I gotta get your reaction. But so she assembled a team of female comic book creators and produced the Mom. It's MOM, Mom comic book.
Ooh, gendered language.
Are you offended?
I'm offended on behalf of the left. I think they'd be really sad by that.
Yeah.
So there's a mom now.
Is Emilia canceled now because of this, or are they liking it?
I sure hope so.
I never
Let's
know what
cancel
they're
her.
going to like or
I
not
hope that
like.
she's canceled, because so it's about a single mom named Maya. And
Do you think she's single because of the armpit hair?
Yeah, I think that might be it. Maybe also the proud menstruation superpower. I don't know. But her superhero powers, they're manifestations of the side effects. So it says, the bloat. This is what she said: the bloating, the hair growth, the mood swings, the acne, all of it. Now when she's angry, she has superhuman strength. When she's scared, she goes invisible. But it's like just kind of a play on the way that females get whenever it's that time of the month. But again, superpowers coming from menstruation really makes it sound like we are diminishing trans women who cannot menstruate.
Right.
And I don't think that we're allowed to do that right now, because trans women are real women, is what I'm told.
Yeah.
But this is actually bringing up a great point, which is real women have menstruation and trans women, I guess, don't. So are they going to be left out?
I'm just a little confused, because sometimes they do this kind of stuff where we're like highlighting women and titling books Mom, but then they tell us that it's not breastfeeding or women, it's people who give birth and chest feeding. So it's erasing womanhood. And I love womanhood. I love motherhood. I'm not a mom yet, but I can't wait to have babies one day. I think it's a beautiful process. Why do we have to make gross things like this about our periods and about menstruation? There's other ways to empower and lift up and respect women and idolize women in this beautiful thing that is motherhood and womanhood, and then they do these weird things. I'm like, no, I'm not a part of that. I want to do things that make it more relatable and show people what it's like to be a woman and a mom, but wow, they make it so weird sometimes. It's hard to want to be their friend. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things. It's like, I want to support, but you make it so hard.
Yes, yeah. I totally
want to like
agree.
you, but I just can't.
It's like, come on, I like her too, the actress. I'm like, dang it.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, it does make it hard, Erin.
So if
there's a lot to break down here.
I'm done with the armpit hair. Like 3 words to that: laser hair removal. No, I can't. But so if a birthing person has chest milk, and why are we talking about these gross? I like to be a lady. I fail sometimes. I fail sometimes. But I don't want to talk to people about things that are unwomanly, right? Emily Post would really be upset about this, right?
I know.
These are private bathroom behaviors. I think so.
Yeah.
And if this is the mom's superpower, I'm really upset by this.
She's about to. Aaron's gonna.
I'm like, oh God, I need therapy. If this is the mom's superpower, the dad's superpower has to be spending 4 hours in the bathroom. I mean,
that's a great
and
point.
the little boy's superpower is what? Picking their nose and then like touching their butt? Like, I can't.
It is very bizarre because it's like, oh, the superpowers come from menstruation. It's let's empower women about the grossest part of being a woman.
Right.
But then, you know, we don't want to empower women to actually be mothers and not abort their babies.
Right. Oh, yeah. Good point. And also, by the way, if this is the superpower, how come everybody can do it that's a woman? Like, this is nothing like you can do better than me. Like, we all got this same kind of level playing field with this one.
It just is
like there's nothing super about it. We all do it.
Right. Well,
we just don't talk about it because we have a little bit of a modicum of dignity.
And then maybe their response would be, well, that's because being a female is very empowering. And it's like, oh, is that back in style again?
Gotcha.
Yeah, is that back in style
it's
again?
even like the slut walks and stuff. You've seen that where they dress up in lingerie and they walk around outside and they say that it's to, you know, empower women. And I'm like, I think there's other ways we can empower women.
Yeah. And when you
am I committing wrong
so
thing by saying that?
Right.
But I just feel like I could be empowered as a woman. I don't know, maybe by being told that I don't have to fit a certain mold in society, and it's okay to be a stay-at-home mom if you want to do that. There's a million stereotypes and problems that women face that we could address, and instead we're like walking around in lingerie outside with our shirts off, saying we want to be respected, and then also writing books about menstruation.
Yeah, it's we've hit a low point, I think, in society. All right, really quick before we have to go, United Airlines announced that all new employees must be fully vaccinated against COVID-19 starting this month. The CEO says it is the right thing to do. I guess my question, I've got like a minute here. So, Aaron, you're an attorney.
Yes.
So, how can this possibly be legal? This is really an experimental drug. They have not, it's not FDA approved.
Unfortunately, it seems to be leaning in the way of legal. There are protected classes. For example, pregnancy is a protected class.
Okay.
But that's the way to get there. I think I've talked to an employment lawyer, and he says that things aren't really on the side of.
That's incredible.
Well, I also harken back
if
to
there are lawsuits, maybe we can get it on the books.
I would like to. So if you look back to the 80s, remember when the AIDS epidemic broke out, and the left then wanted medical privacy. You can't.
Right.
So which lane are they in?
Yeah.
Oh, the one that's convenient for them. And this is really sad, and this is nothing out of the ordinary. I know that, I shouldn't say the company, but I will. Goldman Sachs is making employees upload their I don't know if it's upload the documents or upload
please.
their.
That's what the airline's doing.
So this is really creepy, and anyone on the left that thinks this is good because we're on a public health, just be very careful because this is a slippery slope.
Yeah. Last word here, Morgan.
I heard that Americans said that they're not going to be doing this. So if you want to get a job, I heard it's for employees applying after the 15th. So if you're looking for a job in the airlines, apply for American or another airline that's not going to do it.
Yeah. Oh, I hope they get a blowback here, United. All right, we got to take a break. We'll be back. That is so crazy.
Yeah, my friend's like a hardcore.
All right, just to let everyone know, I don't know if anyone is in the area and if you can even get tickets, but we'll just brag for a second that we are going to be at the Turning Point Young Women's Leadership Summit. These two will be speaking on Saturday morning. I will be speaking at a breakout session Saturday afternoon. It is all going to take place at the Gaylord here in town. We are very, very excited to have not just you guys in town, but all of the young women. These are going to be, what age do they start accepting? 16?
Yeah, high school and
16,
college.
Yeah, high school and college women, young women who are interested, who are right of center, who want to learn more about being in the political game. Part of me is like, they're babies. Maybe we should tell them, like, this is too ugly for you guys now. You don't want it, but I know.
We tell them to grin and bear it, go through it, and really get excited about it. Happy warriors. And that's what Turning Point really promotes. There's thousands of girls at the Gaylord right now getting excited for this event. Yeah.
When people say they want to take, I want to take a 4-year nap, or I just want to stop watching the news, I tell them, no, that's the opposite of what you should be doing. You should be getting more involved. Run for school board, run for city council, go to PTA meetings. You can't sit back. This is not a spectator sport.
Yeah, well, especially I went to college at American University. It's 90% identifying liberal, and it was the #1 most politically active campus in the country when I went. It had this title, right, and they always love to promote it. And I had a million crazy experiences there, but what helps is having a group of people to support you, and Turning Point really provides that.
Yeah, well, we we are so excited to have you guys in town. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah,
Thank you.
We'll see you guys tomorrow.
I need that blood pressure medicine.